morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we're a few weeks out from the release of Twilight Masquerade. Twilight Masquerade's been out for a few weeks now. So it's time to check back in and see what is going on with this set. See if cards are jumping, see if cards are falling, see what's going on generally. And we're going to start off at number... I know we often go 10 to 1 here. We're not going to go 10 to 1. We're going to start off with the big boy from the set. It's Greninja EX. I still don't understand what is going on with Greninja EX. I can tell you what's going on. I can see it happening. I can tell you some theories as to what's happening. But no, ladies and gentlemen, I cannot tell you what's going on because it doesn't make any sense. Right now, Greninja is basically a $280 card. I know they're showing a market price of like $220 over on TCG Player, but if you look at the recent sold, it's like a $280 card. You're looking about $280 for this card. And whenever I look at cards which seem way too expensive, I look at it and I go, all right then, we need to have a look at the equivalent set over in Japan. Because the rule is very, very simple. If equivalent sets over in Japan show us equivalent kind of prices, then we go, okay, that makes sense, I defer. If, however, over in Japan, it is a significantly cheaper card to the point where it doesn't really make any sense, we go, well, yeah, I'm not buying it, frankly. I am not buying it. Well, the set in question over in Japan is Crimson Haze. That's the set over in Japan, which is bringing us this Greninja. This Greninja comes over in Japan from Mask of Change. So what are we looking at in terms of a price for the Greninja over in Japan? About 11,000 yen. It's actually sold out at the site I'm looking at for the moment, but the most recent sale was 11,000 yen, so 11,000 yen seems like a pretty good starting point. Okay, now, I could look at this and tell you, well, 11,000 yen in terms of dollars, and just to be clear, right, you know we're not going to be even close here, don't you? 11,000 yen, we're talking somewhere in the region of $75. Not a super cheap card, but not a $280 card. But that's not actually a fair comparison because dollars to yen and all, let's not go there. Let's look at equivalent cards. Well, equivalency tells us that it is actually the most expensive card in Crimson Haze. It is a smidge, a tiny smidge above Perrin. Which means we should be looking at Perrin plus a tiny bit. Perrin plus like 10%. Roughly is what we should be looking at here in terms of an equivalency. That's what we should be paying for Greninja in the West. Well, Greninja's a $220 card. Perrin is a call it an $80 card. About an $80 card. Well, hang on a second, ladies and gentlemen. That's not the same. No, it is not the same. And when I tell you that Greninja is overpriced, this is what I mean. I don't mean it's not a sought-after card by any stretch of the imagination. It obviously is. What I mean is, over in Japan, it is the most valuable card in the set. So it being the most valuable card in the set over here makes perfect sense. It being more than 3 times the price of Perrin, no, that makes no sense. That's not generally how it works. That shouldn't be how it works. And frankly, that is why I am extremely skeptical, to put it politely. Greninja should not be this expensive. It should be the most expensive card in the set. It should be right up there with Perrin and Carmine, we'll look at in a second. But it should not be more than 3 times the price. No. That, ladies and gentlemen, makes no sense. Elsewhere in the set, Carmine is settling at about a $9,500 card, and it's generally remained about even. You can see it going up and down there, but it kind of started at 120, then it dropped down to 80, and since then it's been milling around the $100 mark-ish. Yes, it's been going up and down, but it's chilling around the $100 mark. So that all makes perfect sense, honestly. That is about where it should be. Cool. Okay. And to be fair, this is still, like, way too high. This is still way higher than it should be. Like, the gold standard of special illustration rare supporter cards has been the Ino from Paldea Evolved, which was, for a time, redonkulous. And Ino now, it's actually taken a bit of a drop recently, but it's sitting around about a $70 card. Carmine is a cool character. Carmine is a playable card. The idea of Carmine as above Ino, nah, mate. I am not buying that for a moment. So I still think there's a lot of wiggle room to be done here. I think overall, Twilight Masquerade cards are actually still too high, frankly. But hey-ho. So they're the top three, your Greninja, your Carmine, and your Perrin. And Perrin at $80 is still a very popular card. And again, like I've said, the idea of this being higher than Ino, nah, mate, come on. It shouldn't be, but it is. I do think the market will correct itself over time. Twilight Masquerade, I'll tell you this, it's taken a while. It has taken a while for Twilight Masquerade to come down to where it should be. Now, since we're going in reverse order, Kieran has gone up to about a $50-ish card lately. It's got a market price of like 57, but the recent sales are about 50, but some of them are lightly played, but not all of them are lightly played. Call it like $50, $55 for Kieran right now. And Kieran's another card with a lot of potential. Either you use it as a switch or use it to do an extra 30 damage. Either way, it's a cool card. It's finding its way into a bunch of decks. And I think the artwork here is stunning. Obviously, this isn't the most expensive because it's the one that I pulled, but it's still a cool card, and it still makes sense being up at about a $55 card. And then rounding out the top five, we've got Eevee. And Eevee's done that thing that Eevee tends to do, where every set, and this does happen like once a set in the English market, we will, as a community, pick one random illustration rare and just massively inflate the price. And I don't really know why. Like here we're sitting at about a $55-ish card, and some of you are going to look at that and go, hang on a second, Wassy. I can see there was a recent sale there for $17.50. What's going on with that? Japanese version. Simple as that. It is the Japanese version of the card, and that is why it's there for so much less. And again, we go to that point of if it's not ridiculously expensive in Japan, it probably shouldn't be ridiculously expensive over here. Now, obviously it is. I just done showed you that. But I don't think it really should be. And I don't really think it makes a huge amount of sense that it is. For context, over in Japan right now, if you go to like Japanese sites, it's around about a 1,900 yen card-ish, which is about $13, which is an awful lot cheaper. If you want a comparison, because like I've said, I think that's more appropriate, it should be in line with, like, Full Art Perrin. Full Art Perrin is a good comp over in Japan. That is roughly where we should be. Well, Eevee is coming in at a $55-ish card. This should be roughly in line with Full Art Perrin. Perrin right now is, anyone want to guess? Before I tell you, it's a $4 card. There is some discrepancy going on here. Also, Full Art Perrin cheaper in the US than it is in Japan. But my point is, over in Japan, they are roughly equivalent. If you want another rough equivalency, and it is just a rough equivalency, let's be clear, but Eevee in Japan is just a little bit higher than the special illustration rare Sinistcha, and Sinistcha over here is like a $24 card. So maybe Perrin is too cheap over here. Maybe we use Sinistcha as an example. Well, Eevee is still double special illustration rare Sinistcha. It is too high. But essentially what happens is that a few people push it high, and then everybody else goes, oh, Oh, well, that's the price now. Cool. And then we just kind of sit there for a while and agree. And then that becomes the actual price. If enough people for enough time agree that that is the price, then that actually then does become the price. And it shouldn't be that price. But like I've said, enough people for enough time paying that money makes it into that price weirdly. So there we go. If we want to finish out the top 10 just quickly, because I've given you the top 5, seems a little bit mean if we don't give you the rest of the top 10. What we see here is, honestly, exactly the cards we would be expecting. So, in at number 6, we've got Blood Moon Ursaluna, coming in at about a $45 card, but has been dropping pretty sharply. It's a coolest version of a very good playable card. It's got an attack that does 240, but it's reduced by 1 in terms of the cost for every prize your opponent's taken. So, yeah. That is a card that gets very, very good very, very quickly. So you can see why it should be up there. In at number 7, we've got the special illustration rare of Lana's Aid, which has generally fallen down to about a $40 card. Is on a slight uptick right now. And there was one sale for $50. So that one could be going up again. But like we said, this is not a playable card. And with Iono, which is the best supporter, kind of topping out at $70 right now, we really shouldn't see Lana's Aid being much higher than that. In at 8th, we've got Teal Mask Ogapon that dropped down to just below $40 and basically stayed there. It's a really cool card and it's the best version thereof. But, you know, it's nothing terribly special. It's a cool card, don't get me wrong. But it is just a special illustration rare of a pretty cool playable card. So, I don't know, put it somewhere in the region of Chen Pao. Let's say it should be roughly equivalent to Chen Pao. Although I think the Chen Pao artwork is way better. And Chen Pao right now is $25. So this is what I mean by Twilight Masquerade being too high right now. I see Teal Mask Ogapon and I go, alright, that kind of makes sense. $40. Okay, fine. But then I compare it to Chen Pao, an equivalent, really good playable card, not the best card in the format. Cool special illustration rare, nothing terribly special. Hang on a second, why is Teal Mask Ogapon so much higher? I don't think it should be. In at number 9, we got the gold Buddy Buddy Poffin at about $35. And look, Buddy Buddy Poffin is a staple in like a million decks. This is the gold cool version of it. I can see a lot of people putting 4 of this in their deck, and I do think that gives this a bit more staying power, shall we say, than some of the others, just for the idea that, you know what? It is actually a very, very playable card, and in a wide variety of decks, which I do think makes a big difference. And then if we want to finish out the top 10, we've got the special illustration rare of Wellspring Mask, coming in at about $25. And this is a very cool tech, which is going to get better with Stellar Crown, as I showed you the other day. So, I mean, $25 for a playable special illustration rare, I can kind of get with that. I think we can agree. Yeah, let's agree. Cool. So there we go. Especially on the top end, these are still way too high. I feel really confident saying that. I don't think they should be as high as they are, but they are for now. So I've given you the news, I've given you my analysis thereof, and now it's over to you guys. Tell me if you think these cards are too high. Tell me which ones you're excited about. Tell me which ones you pulled. Tell me which ones you're picking up as singles. Tell me anything you want to tell me in the comment section. Get us! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk about Pokemon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. And get shoutouts on the channel, like the lovely Danger Morales, who's been a supporter of ours for a while now and is a very lovely person. So shout out to them for the support and the loveliness. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.